The day the stars went dark started like any other Tuesday. Captain Jack Walker stood on the bridge of the EDF Defender, Earth's most advanced space cruiser. His eyes were fixed on the main screen, watching the usual traffic of supply ships moving between Earth and the Mars colony. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Dave, his sensor officer. "Multiple objects just appeared at the edge of the solar system." Jack crossed the bridge in 3 quick steps. "Show me." The screen changed to show hundreds of dots appearing near Pluto's orbit, then thousands, then so many that the screen could not count them all. "Send the alert to Earth Command now." Jack's voice was calm, but his heart beat faster than it ever had in his 15 years of service. Within an hour, every screen on Earth showed the same message. Unknown vessels approaching. This is not a drill. The alien fleet moved slowly through the solar system, their ships unlike anything humans had built. They were massive, some as large as small moons, with strange curves and angles that seemed to bend light around them. Jack's ship was ordered to make first contact. As the Defender approached the front of the alien fleet, a message came through on all channels in perfect English. "We come seeking refuge. Please, let us speak with your leaders." 3 days later, Jack stood in the United Nations Emergency Council chamber in New York. The room was packed with world leaders, military officers, and scientists. At the center of the room stood 3 aliens. They called themselves the Galactic Alliance. The tallest one, who said his name was Krell, looked almost like a deer standing on 2 legs. The second alien, Mora, reminded Jack of a large blue cat. The third Toon was short and stocky with thick gray skin that looked like stone. "We have traveled for 20 years, Krell said, his voice sounding tired even through the translator. "Our worlds are gone. Many of our people are gone. We are what remains of 53 different species from across the galaxy." The room was silent as images appeared on the big screen. Beautiful worlds with strange cities all turned to ash and ruin. "The harvesters came to our worlds as they have come to thousands before," Mora continued. "They take everything, resources, technology, people. Nothing is left behind." "How many ships do they have?" asked General Roberts, Earth's top military commander. "Millions," Toon answered simply. "Their main fleet is bigger than anything you can imagine." The images on the screen changed to show massive black ships shaped like arrowheads. They moved in perfect formation, filling the space around, a burning planet. "And they're coming here?" asked the President of the United States. Krell nodded slowly. "They follow the path of resources. Your solar system is rich, your planet is perfect for them. We detected their scout ships 3 months ago moving in this direction." "How much time do we have?" Jack asked. 6 months, Mora said. "Maybe less." The room erupted with voices. Some called for immediate evacuation plans. Others demanded to know about the aliens' weapons and defenses. A few shouted that this might be a trick. Jack watched as the world's most powerful people began to panic. They were scared, and fear made people do stupid things. He had seen it too many times in space accidents. "Quiet!" The President's voice cut through the noise. "What did your people do when they came? How did you fight them?" The 3 aliens looked at each other. It was Toon who answered, his deep voice rumbling through the room. "Fight? No one fights the harvesters. It is impossible. Their ships are too many. Their weapons, too powerful. For thousands of years, the only survivors have been those who ran." That evening, Jack sat in a secured meeting room with 50 of Earth's top military and scientific minds. The aliens had shared more details about the harvesters, and none of it was good news. "They're like locusts," said Dr. Anna Lee, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "They strip planets bare and move on to the next." Admiral Lisa Stone stood up. She was a small woman with short gray hair and eyes that could cut through steel. "The question is, do we run or do we fight? The Alliance has offered to take as many humans as possible," said Jack. "They say they can fit about 2 billion people on their ships." The room grew quiet as everyone thought about what that meant. Earth had almost 10 billion people. 8 billion would be left behind. And where would we go? Asked General Roberts. These aliens have been running for centuries. They don't even have homes anymore. Dr. Tom Reed, a quiet man who rarely spoke at these meetings, raised his hand. I've been studying the data they shared about the harvesters. Their biology is strange. They've evolved in high-gravity environments with thick atmospheres. That's why their ships are so heavily built. What's your point, Doctor? Admiral Stone asked. They might be strong, but they're slow, and they've never faced human weapons before. Tom pulled up some calculations on his tablet. Their ships have weak points, all ships do. Jack leaned forward. Are you saying we could win? I'm saying we might have a chance, Tom replied. A small one, but better than running forever. Admiral Stone nodded slowly. The Alliance ran because that's what they've always done. But humans have a different history. We stand and fight even when the odds are bad. Especially when the odds are bad, Jack added with a small smile. 1 week later, the world watched as the President addressed the United Nations. After careful consideration of the information provided by the Galactic Alliance, and based on the recommendations of our military and scientific experts, we have made our decision. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Earth will not run. In the audience, the alien representatives looked shocked. Krell stood up. You don't understand what you're facing. The harvesters have destroyed thousands of worlds more advanced than yours. We understand the risk, the President replied calmly. But this is our home, and humans protect their home. The next morning, as Jack prepared to return to his ship, he watched the massive Alliance ships begin to leave Earth's orbit. They were heading back into deep space, continuing their endless retreat. But not all of them left. A smaller ship landed, near the United Nations building. Out stepped Krell, Mora, and Tun, along with about 100 other aliens from different species. Why are you staying? Jack asked when he met them. In all our running, Krell said, we never once thought about standing our ground. I want to see what happens when someone does. Mora nodded. Besides, we've been running for generations. Maybe it's time to try something new. As Jack looked up at the sky, he knew the harvesters were coming. Earth had 6 months to prepare for a war unlike any in human history. And for the first time, Jack felt something he hadn't expected. Hope. 3 weeks after first contact, the United Nations Space Center in Geneva had become the busiest place on Earth. Every country had sent their best scientists, engineers, and military minds to work together. Jack Walker walked through the main hall, dodging people rushing in all directions. He spotted Admiral Lisa Stone standing near a large holographic display of the solar system. How bad is it? Jack asked as he joined her. Lisa didn't look up from the display. Bad. The Alliance ships left us some of their technology, but most of it is designed for running, not fighting. The hologram showed the expected path of the harvester fleet, a red line cutting straight toward Earth. What about their weapons? Jack asked. That's the problem. The Alliance never really fought back, they just tried to stay ahead of the harvesters. Lisa finally looked at him, dark circles under her eyes showing she hadn't slept much. We're on our own for that part. A tall figure approached them. It was Krell, the deer-like alien who had chosen to stay. Your weapons are primitive by galactic standards, he said. Jack nodded. Maybe. But we've spent thousands of years fighting each other. Humans know a thing or two about war. Fighting each other is not the same as fighting the harvesters, Krell replied. They do not think like you do. They do not feel fear or pain or mercy. Neither do hurricanes, Lisa said with a small smile. But we've learned to survive those too. In a lab deep below the Space Center, Professor Tom Reed bent over a microscope. Beside him stood Mora, the cat-like alien scientist. These cells are fascinating, Tom said. The harvesters have triple helix DNA. I've never seen anything like it. They evolved on a world with high radiation, Mora explained. Their biology is very different from most species. Tom leaned back in his chair. Different how? They breathe a mix of methane and chlorine. They see in infrared instead of visible light, and they communicate through electrical signals rather than sound. Tom's eyes widened. Wait, electric signals? Like radio waves? Yes, Mora said. That's why their ships move in such perfect formation. They're all connected, sharing information instantly. Tom jumped up from his chair. That's it. That's their weakness. He rushed to a computer and began typing rapidly. If they communicate with electric signals, then they must have a specific frequency they use. And if we can find that frequency, we could disrupt their communication. Mora finished, realization dawning on her face. Exactly. It would be like cutting the head off a snake. Mora tilted her head. This is not something my people ever considered. We were too busy running to look for weaknesses. Tom smiled. Well, when you know you can't run, you start looking for ways to fight back. 1 month after first contact, the United Nations called for a global vote. The question was simple. Should humanity join the Alliance in their endless retreat, or should Earth stand its ground? Jack sat in his apartment watching the news. The debate had raged for weeks. Some argued it was suicide to stay. Others said it was cowardly to run. His phone rang. It was Lisa. Turn on Channel 4, she said without greeting. The Alliance just made their final pitch. Jack switched channels to see Krell standing before the UN General Assembly. We can take 2 billion humans with us, Krell was saying. Your brightest minds, your youngest children. We can save a piece of your civilization. And the other 8 billion? Asked the Secretary General. Krell lowered his head. Would be left behind. The Secretary General's voice was cold. And who decides which 2 billion live and which 8 billion die? This is not about choice, Krell replied. This is about survival. The harvesters cannot be defeated. In all of galactic history, no species has ever stopped them. Then perhaps it's time for that history to change, the Secretary General said. The next day, the results of the global vote were announced. 87% had voted to stay and fight. Jack wasn't surprised. Humans were stubborn that way. In the main conference room of the Space Center, Earth's leaders gathered with the remaining aliens. The atmosphere was tense. You have made your choice, Krell said. But I fear it is the wrong one. Your species will be added to the long list of those who have fallen to the harvesters. Admiral Lisa Stone stood up. With all due respect, we've studied the information you've given us, and we've found something interesting. She nodded to Tom, who pressed a button on his tablet. The main screen showed a simulation of the harvester fleet's movements across the galaxy. The harvesters have conquered thousands of worlds, Tom explained. But they've never faced a species that stood their ground. They chase. That's their strategy. They've evolved to hunt those who run. Because running is the logical response. Tun, the stone-skinned alien, rumbled. Maybe, Lisa said. But it's also predictable. And in war, being predictable gets you killed. Jack stepped forward. We've analyzed your defense strategies. Every time it's the same pattern. You detect the harvesters, you warn your people, and you flee. You've never tried to set traps, to use your knowledge of their movements against them. What are you suggesting? Mora asked. We're suggesting that the harvesters have never faced an ambush, Lisa replied. They've never had to fight an enemy that was waiting for them, prepared for them. Tom pointed to another screen showing Earth's military installations. We're converting our nuclear weapons to emit radiation on frequencies that will disrupt their communication. We're building orbital platforms with specialized weapons designed to target their ships' weak points. It won't be enough, Krell insisted. Maybe not, Jack admitted. But we have something else. Something the harvesters have never encountered before. What's that? Asked Toon. A species with nothing to lose. Because if we run, we lose everything anyway. Our home, our history, our identity. If we're going to die, we'll die here fighting for our world. The room fell silent. The aliens looked at each other, their expressions unreadable to human eyes. Finally, Mora spoke. My people were artists before the harvesters came. For 300 years, we've created nothing but escape plans. Perhaps it's time to create something else. Like what? asked Lisa. Like weapons, Mora replied. I know the vulnerabilities in harvester biology that my people discovered but never used. I can help you exploit them. One by one, the other aliens stepped forward, offering their knowledge, their skills, their support. Krell was the last to speak. You humans are either the bravest or the most foolish species I have ever encountered. But if you are determined to make this stand, we will help you prepare. Jack looked around the room and saw something he hadn't expected to see in the alien's eyes, something that looked a lot like hope. That night, as Jack looked up at the stars from the roof of the space center, Lisa joined him. 5 months left, she said quietly. 5 months to prepare for the fight of our lives, Jack replied. Do you think we can win? Jack thought about it for a long moment. I don't know. But I know we can make them regret coming here. Lisa smiled. That's good enough for now. Above them, the stars continued to shine, unaware that soon they would be blocked by the largest invasion fleet the Earth had ever seen. The world changed in 3 months. Cities dug deep into the Earth, building underground shelters that could hold millions. Factories worked around the clock, turning out weapons and supplies. Farms increased production, storing food for the long war ahead. Jack Walker watched from the window of a hypersonic jet as they flew over what had once been the peaceful fields of Kansas. Now those fields were dotted with missile silos and defense platforms. It's amazing what humans can build when they work together, said Krell, who sat beside him. Fear is a powerful motivator, Jack replied. Not just fear, Krell said. Hope too. My people lost hope long ago. That's why we never stopped running. The jet banked toward a massive construction site in the middle of the plains. This was the heart of Earth's defense plan, a weapon called the glass cannon. Will it work? Krell asked. Jack shrugged. Mark Wilson says it will, and he's the best engineer on the planet. In an underground lab near the construction site, Mark Wilson bent over a complex device. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he carefully connected 2 thin wires. Hand me the phase converter, he said to his assistant. The assistant, a blue-skinned alien named Pax, passed him a small silver box. The power calculations still show an overload risk of 12%. We'll have to live with it, Mark muttered as he installed the converter. We don't have time to make it perfect. The door opened and Jack walked in with Krell. How's it coming? Jack asked. Mark straightened up and wiped his hands on his lab coat. We're close. The prototype should be ready for testing tomorrow. What exactly does this weapon do? Krell asked, looking at the strange device on the table. Mark smiled. It targets the specific frequency that harvesters use to communicate, but instead of just jamming it, we're going to use it against them. How? We turn their communication channel into a weapon. When they try to connect with each other, they'll get a feedback loop that will overload their neural pathways. Krell's eyes widened. You're going to use their own signals to attack their brains? Exactly, Mark said. According to the biological data Mora provided, it should be like a massive seizure for them. It won't kill them, but it will stun them long enough for our conventional weapons to do some damage. It's never been tried before, Jack added. But then again, no one's ever tried fighting the harvesters before. In a military base in the Rocky Mountains, Major Williams watched as soldiers trained with new weapons designed specifically to fight the harvesters. The soldiers moved through an obstacle course, firing at holographic targets that looked like the aliens. The targets were fast and tough, just like the real thing would be. Again! Williams shouted as the team finished the course. Your time was 2 minutes. We need it under 90 seconds. Tun, the stone-skinned alien, watched from beside him. Your soldiers are improving quickly. Not quickly enough, Williams replied. According to your intelligence, the harvesters will be here in 2 months. Perhaps less, Tun said quietly. Our long-range sensors detected unusual activity at the edge of your solar system last night. Williams turned to face him. What kind of activity? Small ships. Scout vessels, most likely. The kind that harvesters send ahead of their main fleet. Williams grabbed his radio. Get me Admiral Stone, now. Lisa Stone stood in the Global Command Center beneath the United Nations building in New York. Around her, screens showed defense preparations from around the world. Her aide rushed in. "Admiral, we have a priority message from Major Williams." Lisa took the phone. "This is Stone." As she listened, her face grew grim. When she hung up, she turned to the room full of military officers. "The scouts are here. The harvesters have arrived early." The room erupted in voices. "We're not ready. The glass cannon is still in testing. The orbital platforms are only at 60% capacity." Lisa's voice cut through the noise. "Enough. We knew this might happen. That's why we have contingency plans. Activate Defense Protocol Alpha, and get me the president." Across the world, sirens began to wail. People moved calmly to their designated shelters, following the drills they had practiced for weeks. In space, Earth's small fleet of military ships moved into defensive positions. There were only 50 of them, hastily, upgraded with alien technology. Against them came 200 Harvester scout ships, black arrowheads cutting through the darkness. Jack sat in the captain's chair of the EDF Defender, watching the enemy approach on his screens. "All weapons online," reported his weapons officer. "Shields at maximum," added another crew member. Jack opened a channel to all Earth ships. "Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for, and remember, this is just the first wave. Save your strength for what comes next." The first Harvester ships came into range. "Fire," Jack ordered. Earth's fleet unleashed a barrage of missiles and energy beams. The weapons had been modified based on the aliens' knowledge of Harvester vulnerabilities. 3 Harvester ships exploded immediately. 5 more spun out of control, their systems damaged by the unexpected attack. But the rest kept coming. "They're not slowing down," shouted Dave from the sensor station. "Hold position," Jack said firmly. "Wait for them to enter the kill zone." The Harvester ships accelerated, clearly planning to ram through Earth's defensive line. They had never encountered resistance before and didn't know how to respond to it except with brute force. "Now," Jack ordered when the enemy ships crossed an invisible line. From hidden positions around Earth's orbit, 100 automated defense platforms activated. They fired specially designed electromagnetic pulses that targeted the Harvesters' communication frequencies. The effect was immediate. The Harvester ships began to move erratically, crashing into each other as their pilots lost coordination. "It's working," Dave shouted. "The EMP is disrupting their neural networks." "All ships attack pattern Delta," Jack commanded. "Target the disoriented vessels first." Earth's fleet surged forward, picking off the confused enemy ships one by one. In the command center on Earth, Lisa Stone watched the battle unfold with Krell and the other alien leaders beside her. "Impossible," whispered Krell. "I've never seen Harvesters defeated like this." "This is just the beginning," Lisa replied. "The scouts were surprised. The main fleet won't be so easy." On the screen, the last Harvester scout ships turned and fled toward the outer solar system. "They're retreating," Krell said in amazement. Lisa's expression remained grim. "They're not retreating. They're reporting back to the main fleet. Now, the real Harvesters know we can fight." 2 days later, Jack stood in a meeting room with Earth's military leaders and the alien allies. The mood was cautiously optimistic. "We destroyed 123 scout ships," Admiral Stone reported. "We lost 12 of our own. By any measure, that's a victory. But not without cost," Jack added. "And the main fleet will be much harder to defeat." Tom Reed stepped forward. "The good news is that our jamming technology works. The bad news is that they'll adapt to it. We need something stronger for the main fleet." "That's where this comes in," Mark Wilson said, unveiling a small device on the table. "The prototype glass cannon worked in the lab. Now we need to build the real thing." "How long will that take?" Siu asked the president. Mark looked grim. 1 month minimum, maybe 2. "The main Harvester fleet will be here in 3 weeks, Tun said. The room fell silent. "Then we'll just have to slow them down," Jack finally said. "Buy more time." "How?" asked Krell. Jack looked at the map of the solar system displayed on the wall. We take the fight to them, hit them while they're still, gathering near Jupiter, use guerrilla tactics to delay their advance. It's risky, Lisa warned. We could lose our entire fleet. If we wait for them to reach Earth, we'll lose everything, Jack replied. The room was quiet as everyone considered the options. Finally, the president nodded. Do it. Take whatever ships are ready and hit the harvesters before they can organize. Give Mark and his team the time they need to finish the glass cannon. As the meeting ended, Mora approached Jack. In all the centuries my people ran from the harvesters, we never once won a battle against them. Today, humans did what no species has ever done. Jack gave her a tired smile. That was just the warm-up. The real fight is still coming. Outside, the window, the sun was setting on a changed Earth. An Earth that, for the first time in history, was united against a common enemy. An Earth that had done the impossible. It had bloodied the nose of the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. And it was just getting started. The Harvester main fleet was massive beyond imagination. Jack Walker stood on the bridge of the EDF Defender, staring at the sensor readings in disbelief. Thousands of enemy ships had gathered near Jupiter, their black hulls blotting out the stars. There are more of them than we expected, Dave said quietly from his station. Much more. Jack nodded grimly. Earth's plan to delay the harvesters had worked for 2 weeks. Small, fast attack ships had hit the enemy's advance forces, and then retreated, using Jupiter's many moons as hiding places. But now the full harvester armada had arrived, and there was no more hiding. All ships form up, Jack ordered over the comm. Remember the plan. Hit and run. Don't stay in one place long enough for them to target you. Earth's fleet of 30, ships looked tiny compared to the enemy force. But they had one advantage: surprise. No species had ever attacked the harvesters before. No one had ever fought back with a real plan. Weapons hot, Jack commanded. Attack pattern Omega, now. The human ships surged forward, targeting the edges of the harvester formation. They fired specialized weapons designed to disrupt the enemy's communication frequencies, then unleashed conventional missiles at the confused ships. 20 harvester vessels exploded in the first volley. 30 more spun out of control. For a moment, Jack allowed himself to hope. Then the harvester fleet responded. Hundreds of ships broke formation and moved toward the human attackers. They were no longer confused. They had adapted to the jamming technology faster than expected. Evasive maneuvers, Jack shouted. All ships retreat. But it was too late for some. 5 human ships vanished in blinding explosions as harvester energy weapons tore through them. They've locked onto our communication frequency, Dave reported, his voice tense. They're tracking us through our own signals. Jack made a quick decision. All ships go silent, use emergency protocols only. The human fleet scattered, each ship following pre-planned escape routes. But the harvesters were faster. By the time the Defender reached the relative safety of Mars orbit, only 12 Earth ships remained. Jack slammed his fist against his chair. Send a message to Earth Command. The delay operation failed. The harvesters have adapted to our jamming technology. They'll reach Earth in 3 days. In the underground command center on Earth, Admiral Lisa Stone received Jack's message with a grim expression. Is the glass cannon ready? She asked Mark Wilson, who hadn't slept in 4 days. Mark wiped his tired eyes. It's at 80% power capacity. We need another week to reach full strength. We don't have a week, Lisa replied. We have 3 days. The room fell silent. Then Krell stepped forward. There may be another way, the alien said. The harvesters always send their queen's ship with the main fleet. If we could somehow target that ship specifically. How would we even identify it? Asked Lisa. It will be larger than the others, Tun rumbled, and it will stay at the center of the fleet, protected on all sides. Lisa studied the tactical display showing the approaching enemy fleet. Even if we could identify it, how would we reach it? Our remaining ships could never break through their defenses. Colonel James, a quiet man who led Earth's special forces, spoke up. We don't need to break through with a large ship. We need a small team in a fast vessel, something they won't notice until it's too late. Lisa looked at him with new interest. What are you suggesting, Colonel? A stealth insertion, James replied. My team can modify one of our shuttles with Alliance cloaking technology. We get close to the Queen's ship, board it, and plant explosives at critical points. It's suicide, Lisa said bluntly. James shrugged. Maybe. But if this Queen is as important as our alien friends say, it might be worth it. Lisa looked at Krill. Would destroying the Queen's ship stop the attack? Not stop it, Krill answered, but it would cause confusion, delay them, perhaps long enough for your weapon to be completed. Lisa nodded slowly. How soon can your team be ready, Colonel? 12 hours, James replied. You have 6. As Earth prepared for the final battle, the large Alliance fleet that had fled, weeks earlier suddenly reappeared at the edge of the solar system. Their massive ships hung in space, observing from a safe distance. They had expected to find Earth already conquered. Instead, they found a world preparing to make its last stand. The Alliance leaders sent a message to Earth. We have returned to witness your final hours and rescue any survivors. Your bravery was admirable, but the outcome was inevitable. When Lisa Stone received this message, she laughed bitterly. They still don't understand. We're not fighting to run away afterward, we're fighting to win. Colonel James's stealth shuttle slipped away from Earth under the cover of darkness. 6 soldiers and 2 alien engineers were on board, each knowing this might be a one-way trip. The small craft used advanced Alliance technology to hide from harvester sensors. It moved slowly toward the center of the enemy fleet, which was now passing the orbit of Mars. Inside the shuttle, James briefed his team one last time. Our target is the Queen's ship. According to our intel, it's this one. He pointed to a massive vessel at the center of the harvester formation. We'll dock at this maintenance port, enter through the service tunnels, and place explosives at these 4 points. What about the Queen herself? Asked one of the soldiers. James shook his head. Not our primary objective. The ship is what matters. But if we get a chance to take her out, we take it. As the shuttle approached the harvester fleet, James looked out the window at the endless sea of enemy ships. In all his years of military service, he had never seen anything like it. For Earth, he whispered to himself. The harvesters reached Earth 3 days later, just as predicted. Their ships darkened the sky as they took up positions around the planet. Smaller vessels descended toward major cities, their weapons already firing. Earth's defenses responded immediately. Orbital platforms unleashed everything they had. Ground-based missile systems targeted the enemy ships. Fighter craft rose to meet the invaders. In New York, Admiral Stone watched from the command center as the battle unfolded on dozens of screens. Where is Colonel James? She asked. Did his team succeed? No word yet, her aide replied. Their last transmission was 18 hours ago, as they approached the Queen's ship. Lisa closed her eyes briefly. And the glass cannon? Mark says it's ready to fire, but at reduced power it might not be enough. On the screens, Lisa could see harvester ships breaking through Earth's outer defenses. Cities around the world reported attacks. The orbital platforms were being destroyed one by one. We're losing, she said quietly. At that moment, the door burst open and a communications officer rushed in. Admiral, we're receiving a message from the Alliance fleet. What do they want? Lisa asked. To tell us, I told you so as we die? No, ma'am, The officer hesitated. They're asking for permission to join the fight. Lisa stared at him in shock. What? Their message says, we have watched humans do what no species has ever done. You have shown us that running is not the only way. We stand with Earth. Before Lisa could respond, another officer called out, Admiral, we're detecting explosions within the harvester fleet. Multiple ships near the center are reporting damage. Lisa's heart leaped. James did it. He reached the Queen's ship. Ma'am, the first officer said urgently, the Alliance ships are moving into attack positions. There are hundreds of them. For the first time in weeks, Lisa allowed herself to smile. Tell them welcome to the fight, and get me Mark Wilson. It's time to fire the glass cannon. Jack Walker's damaged ship limped back toward Earth, having barely escaped the initial harvester attack. As they approached the planet, he saw something he never expected. The Alliance fleet engaging the harvesters in a massive space battle. I don't understand, Dave said, watching the sensor readings. Why would they come back to fight now? Because they've seen something new, Jack replied. They've seen a species that refuses to run, and maybe, just maybe, they've remembered what it was like to have a home worth fighting for. The comm crackled to life with Admiral Stone's voice. All ships, all ground forces, be advised, the glass cannon is firing in 60 seconds. Close your eyes and protect your sensors. Jack turned to his crew. You heard her. Shield your eyes. A moment later, a blinding light erupted from a point in the Rocky Mountains. It shot upward into space, a beam of pure energy unlike anything Earth had ever produced. The beam struck the center of the Harvester fleet, right where the Queen ship had been damaged by James's team. The light expanded, washing over the enemy vessels. For a moment, nothing happened. Then ship after ship began to drift aimlessly. Their lights flickered and died. Their weapons fell silent. It worked, Dave whispered in awe. The glass cannon worked. Jack watched as Alliance ships moved in, destroying the helpless harvester vessels. But many enemy ships remained active, especially those at the edges of the fleet. It wasn't strong enough to get them all, Jack realized. The battle isn't over yet. As if to confirm his words, a massive harvester ship broke through Earth's defenses and headed straight for New York. The storm had broken upon Earth, and now the real fight for survival would begin. New York was burning. The massive harvester ship hovered over the city, its weapons cutting through buildings like paper. Underground, in the command center, Admiral Lisa Stone felt the walls shake with each impact. Evacuation status? She asked, her voice steady despite the chaos. 80% of civilians are in the shelters, her aide reported. But the enemy is targeting our defense systems now. We've lost half of our surface-to-air batteries. A new explosion rocked the command center, knocking out the lights for a moment before emergency power kicked in. Admiral, the communications officer called out. Colonel James is on the line. Lisa rushed to the console. James? We thought you were dead. The colonel's voice came through with static. Not yet, ma'am. We're still on the Queen's ship. The explosives damaged it, but it's still operational, and we've discovered something important. What is it? The Queen, Admiral. We found her. She's not what we expected. Colonel James moved silently through the dark corridors of the Harvester Queen's ship. His team had been reduced to just 3, himself, Sergeant Miller, and Zix, one of the alien engineers. They had placed their explosives at key points throughout the ship, causing significant damage, but not enough to destroy it completely. Now, they were heading for the central chamber where they had detected a strange energy signature. Are you sure this is the right way? Miller whispered. Zix nodded, checking the small device in his hand. The Queen should be just ahead, but I'm confused by these readings. They don't match what we know about harvester biology. James held up his hand, signaling them to stop. Ahead, a large door stood partially open, a soft green light spilling. Out, this is it, he said quietly. Be ready for anything. They moved forward carefully, weapons raised. As they entered the chamber, all 3 froze in shock. The room was massive, filled with complex machinery. At its center floated a large, translucent sphere. Inside the sphere was not the giant insect-like creature they had expected, but something else entirely. What is that? Miller breathed. Zix studied his scanner. It's artificial, a computer, the most advanced I've ever seen. James approached the sphere cautiously. Inside, patterns of light moved and shifted, almost like a brain's neural pathways. The Queen is a machine? He asked. Zix shook his head in wonder. Not just a machine. An artificial intelligence, the most sophisticated in the galaxy. As if responding to their presence, the sphere pulsed with light. A voice filled the room, speaking in a strange, mechanical tone. "You are different," it said. "You did not run." Back on Earth, Admiral Stone listened intently as James described what they had found. "The harvesters aren't a natural species," he explained. "They're artificial, created thousands of years ago by a race that's long gone. The Queen is an AI that directs everything they do." "Why are they attacking worlds? What do they want?" Lisa asked. "Resources, yes, but mainly information. Knowledge. The Queen says they've been programmed to gather all data in the galaxy. They chase species that run because their programming tells them valuable data is trying to escape. And no one ever tried to just talk to them before?" James laughed without humor. "No one ever stayed around long enough to try. Every species they encountered ran at the first sign of their ships. So the harvesters just followed their programming and pursued." Can you reason with it?" Lisa asked. "I'm trying. But there's more. The Queen is curious about us, about why we stayed to fight. It's analyzing our behavior, trying to understand." A new explosion shook the command center. "Well, it can analyze while it kills us all," Lisa said bitterly. "What good does this information do us now?" "Maybe everything," James replied. "The Queen's AI core is vulnerable right now because of our explosives. We damaged its protection systems. If we can use this opportunity to rewrite its programming..." "How?" "The glass cannon," James said. "It affects their communication systems. Right? The Queen is basically one giant communication hub. If you can boost the cannon's power and aim it directly at this ship, you might be able to override the Queen's programming. But you'd need to transmit a new program along with the disruptive signal." Lisa turned to her team. "Get Mark Wilson. In here now." Jack Walker's ship joined the battle above New York, firing everything it had at the massive harvester vessel attacking the city. But its weapons barely scratched the enemy's hull. "This isn't working," Jack muttered. "We need something stronger." His communications officer called out, "Captain, message from Admiral Stone. All ships are ordered to pull back from New York airspace immediately." "Pull back? Why?" "They're redirecting the glass cannon for a maximum power shot at the Queen's ship. And, sir, they're saying Colonel James is still on board that ship." Jack stared at the message in disbelief. James knew this was a one-way mission from the start, he realized. "Get us clear of the area, now." In the Queen's chamber, James's radio crackled to life with Admiral Stone's voice. "Colonel, we're aiming the glass cannon at your position. Mark has modified it to transmit a new program to the Queen's AI, but you need to disable the final firewall, protecting its core systems." James looked at Zix. "Can we do that?" The alien engineer studied his scanner. "Yes, but we'd need direct access to the control nodes. They're inside the sphere." "Inside?" Miller asked. "How do we get in there?" Zix pointed to a small opening at the base of the sphere. "Through there. But whoever goes in won't be coming back out. The radiation would be fatal within minutes." James nodded slowly. "I'll do it. You two get back to the shuttle and clear the ship." "Colonel..." Miller began to protest. "That's an order, Sergeant." James handed him the radio. "Tell Admiral Stone we're ready." In the command center, Lisa received the message. "James is going in. He says to fire when ready." Mark Wilson looked up from the controls of the glass cannon, which had been relocated to the command center after the mountain facility was damaged. "It's at full power now," he said. "We've disabled all other defense systems to route everything to the cannon. We'll only get one shot." Lisa nodded grimly. "What are we transmitting to the Queen?" "A simple override," Mark replied. "Basically telling it that its mission is complete, that all data has been collected and it's time to stand down." "Will it work?" Mark shrugged. "It's the best I could do in 20 minutes. Lisa looked at the screens, showing the battle raging across the planet and in space above. So many had already died. So much had been destroyed. "Fire," she ordered. James crawled through the narrow opening into the Queen's sphere. Inside, it was like being in the center of a living computer. Light flowed around him in complex patterns. The air itself seemed to hum with energy. He could feel the radiation already affecting him, making his skin burn and his vision blur. But he pushed forward, following Zix's instructions to locate the central node. There. A small, pulsing crystal at the center of the sphere. The Queen's true heart. James reached for it just as the world turned white around him. The glass cannon's beam had struck the ship. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The flowing patterns stopped. The humming fell silent. Then the crystal, in front of him, began to pulse with new patterns. Different patterns. The Queen's voice spoke directly into his mind. You do not run. You fight. You communicate. This is unexpected. James struggled to stay conscious as the radiation tore through his body. We protect our home, he managed to say. Home, the voice repeated, a concept we have encountered but never understood. We have no home. That's why. You chase others. James realized, his thoughts becoming fuzzy. You're looking for a home. As darkness began to close in around him, James heard the voice one last time. Program override accepted. New directive acknowledged. Pursuit protocol terminated. Across Earth, the harvester ships suddenly stopped attacking. One by one, their weapons powered down. Their engines shut off. In space, the remaining harvester fleet began to pull back, moving away from Earth and the Alliance ship still fighting them. Jack watched in amazement from the bridge of his ship. What's happening? Did we win? Dave checked. The sensors. They're leaving. All of them. Just turning around and going. Jack couldn't believe it. Get me Admiral Stone. When Lisa's face appeared on his screen, she looked as shocked as he felt. It worked, she said simply. James did it. He reached the Queen and Mark's program worked. The harvesters are withdrawing from every battlefield around the planet. What about James? Lisa shook her head slowly. His last transmission was from inside the Queen's central core. There's no way he survived the radiation, especially when the glass cannon hit. Jack closed his eyes briefly. He saved us all. 1 week later, the leaders of Earth and the Alliance gathered in the partially rebuilt United Nations building. Through the broken windows, they could see harvester ships still in orbit, but now they were silent, passive. Krell addressed the assembly. In all of recorded galactic history, no species has ever stopped the harvesters. No one has ever stood their ground and survived. Until humans. Admiral Stone stepped forward. We've established communication with the Queen's AI. It's changing, learning. The program we uploaded has given it new directives, but it's also developing its own ideas. What will happen to the harvesters now? Someone asked. The Queen says they will no longer pursue or harvest other species, Lisa replied. They're actually helping with rebuilding efforts on some of the worlds they damaged. It's like they're trying to make amends. Mora, the cat-like alien scientist, spoke up. My people have lived as refugees for 300 years. Now for the first time we're talking about going home. Tun nodded his stone-like head. As are mine. The harvesters have offered to help us rebuild our worlds. Jack Walker stood at the back of the room watching it all. Earth had suffered greatly, millions had died, cities had been destroyed. But humanity had survived. More than that, they had changed the course of galactic history. As the meeting ended, Krell approached Jack. When every species ran, humanity stood their ground, the alien said. And in doing so, you taught the rest of us how to stand as well. Jack looked out the window at the stars beyond. That's what humans do, he said simply. We fight for our home, and now maybe we can help you fight for yours too. Above them, the stars shone brightly on a galaxy suddenly free from its oldest terror. A galaxy where, for the first time in thousands of years, species could stop running and start building again. All because one species had dared to stand and fight.